Well, let's start right there for keep it open or close it out, guys. Obviously, we're talking players that you're holding on or you're just letting go.
No. This is about whether you're starting or sitting them, not necessarily dropping them. But yeah, keep it open. So these are higher end players, not necessarily dropping them, Connor.
One of
these days you should show up to the pre-show meeting. Like you stop worrying about your hair and show up to the pre-show meeting.
It's true. I'll take the dive for that.
Right. So I'm always at the pre-show meeting because I don't have to worry about my hair. One of the nice things. Thanks. What I would say is that so the idea here is like bar talk, right? Are we keeping the tab open, or are we closing it out on these players for this week, for week number 8? Are we putting them in our starting lineups? We keeping them in our starting lineups, or are we putting them on our bench? A couple of these guys we can talk about whether or not you should actually drop them, but the premise of the segment is, are we starting them borderline guys? Are we keeping it open and continuing to start them in week 8, or are we closing it out and putting them on our bench?
So let's start with Kyle Pitts. Obviously, somebody that a lot of people everybody drafted expecting sit in the lineup at the tight end spot. You don't worry about him the rest of the year. I mean, Lawrence, are we at the point where you cannot start him in any way, shape, or form in fantasy right now, especially for this week?
Yeah, so for this week, I can't do it, boss. I cannot do it. Just like Matthew said the last episode, they was getting their ass kicked, still running. They wasn't just getting their ass kicked. They was getting whooped, embarrassed, and dumped on. But now they got the Panthers, right? They 4.5-point favorites.
Right.
So if they win, they ain't about to throw the ball. If they losing by 3 touchdowns and they throwing the ball.
Yeah, so, I mean, the one thing I would say here is, like, I'm a tight end 12. Like, the bar for fantasy success at tight end is so low. So he's borderline for me. Like, he's averaging fewer than 4 fantasy points a game, 3 or fewer receptions in 5 out of 6 games this year. Some of the fantasy tight ends out there that have more points than Kyle Pitts this year: Daniel Bellinger, Noah Fant, Juwan Johnson, just in the last game. Literally, Juwan Johnson, I think, in the last game, when he had the 2 touchdowns against the Cardinals here. And so last week, he had 3.9 points, and you're like, wow, that was just a bad day at the office. That was the 3rd most points he's had this year. I mean, pick a bad. Having said that, though, Lawrence, you watched that game close. They targeted him on that end zone throw.
I thought it was a touchdown.
He should have been a touchdown. He got held blatantly. Once a no call as well on another pass into the end zone, where I think he would have been the guy. Like, had he not they were trying to target him in the end zone. And so I think if one of those 2 plays comes through, the narrative on him is somewhat different. But
I'd add 10 points then.
Right, right, exactly. So instead of 3.9, it's like, it's 10 points, right? It's still not ideal. I've been previously saying, you still got to start him. This week, again, he's outside my top 10. If you're in a 12-team league, you're starting him. If you're not, if you're in a 10-team league, I think likely there's a better option for you. Like, it's tough. They want to establish it.
We're in a world where Kyle Pitts is ranked behind Greg Dulcich coming into this week.
He just came back.
I just want to make that clear. This is his 3rd game of his career.
Yeah.
So
and they both have bad quarterback play.
Yeah. It's not pretty right now, but we're going to stay in Atlanta because we just can't get enough of this offense and talk Drake London, Lawrence, who out of the gate the first couple weeks, target monster, offensive rookie of the year, really one of the favorites for that award. He has just fallen off a cliff, and that kind of peaked last week with 1 target, 1 catch, 9 yards. This is why I started the segment this way. I'm not talking about Drake London starting this week. Are we in drop territory with him?
We getting real close to it, but you can't do it because of the talent. This week, I see me and Matthew have him similarly ranked, 46 and 47, and the reason he's that high is because of the talent and because of what we saw.
It's a top 10 pick.
Yeah, top 10 pick. The year before, Kyle Pitts, top 5 pick. He should have drafted like Penei Sewell or something.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that's it's interesting. It's such a fascinating point. And my friend Ben Gretsch, shout out to at Yards Per Gretsch on Twitter. My friend Ben Gretsch made this point, which I thought was a really smart one. Right. So Drake London was the 8th overall pick this past year. Right. The year before, Kyle Pitts was the number 4 overall pick. So you're the front office of the Atlanta Falcons, and we used 2 top 10 overall picks on offensive pass-catching weapons, and the offense that his head coach is running out there is all run-heavy. Like, maybe he's doing that with permission, but you sort of feel like if you're the boss, if you're the front office of the Atlanta Falcons, like, what are we doing here?
I think
what are we doing here? Like, just anyway, it'd be interesting to see what happens at the end of the season with Arthur Smith. But the fact of the matter is that the Falcons have won more games than we expected them to. The division is much worse than we thought. Falcons are tied for first.
They can do what they want.
3-4, they're tied for first. I mean, right? Exactly. Playoff bound.
And look, they got the fool's gold call on Tom Brady a couple weeks ago to roughing the passer there. So it's a little dicey in that NFC South.
Yeah. So anyway, I agree with Lawrence here is that the talent is too much and that we saw the volume there at the early part of the season. They've gone away from that, but hopefully maybe they get back to that as well. It is worth noting the Panthers bottom 10 in the NFL in pass defense over the last 4 weeks. And I think, again, Mike Evans was wide open. 99 times out of 100, a professional NFL wide receiver, including Mike Evans, makes that catch.
Especially him.
Yep.
Especially him, walks into the end zone. Just one of those weird, just brain fart kind of plays. And so, again, we have him at wide receiver, outside of our top 45 at wide receiver this week, but it's hard for me to drop him based on the talent and potential role.
Yeah.
Well,
I get it though. If you did, I'll say this.
Yeah, no, we ain't yelling at you.
Yeah.
Right. And if I'm on, I'll say this too. If he was on the waiver wire in your league, are you picking him up?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Just to put him on the end of the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 12-team end of the bench just to say hi. Maybe.
Right. Just say hi. Just say whatever.
Welcome.
Hey, listen. Rest of the season. Drake London or DJ Moore?
Ooh, DJ
Right.
Moore.
DJ
Moore
Moore
with PJ Walker.
With PJ Walker,
That's the
exactly.
difference.
That's the world we live in here. So anyway, you're a little more bullish on Drake than I am, but anyway. Let's move on here.
Steelers fans were clamoring for Kenny Pickett to play. They got their wish, but that hasn't exactly worked out for Diontae Johnson. Targets still, last 2 games, 17 targets. Not like the targets have fallen off a cliff, but guys, this is dink and dunk football right here. 10 catches on those for 70 yards. Not necessarily the Diontae Johnson you're used to. Is Kenny Pickett just too unreliable right now where you're considering benching Diontae Johnson this week?
I actually wouldn't bench him this week. The Steelers are minus 10.5 point favorites, so they'll be in a situation where they have to throw, right? And then underdogs, sorry. They are the underdogs. Definitely not the favorites versus the Eagles.
Right.
And Kenny Pickett's 2 full games, he's averaging 33 completions and 48 attempts. And Diontae Johnson still only has 2 games where he's not leading the team in targets. So I'll trot him out there and just hope for that volume and hope that wins over.
Yeah, he's got a 25% target share so far this year. And one of the things we talked about, Connor, we talked about this earlier in the year when we were talking about will Kenny Pickett make this, will they make this switch, is we looked at this stretch of schedule and we're like, oh, this is like a brutal 4-game stretch for the Steelers. If they don't start him against the Jets, they should probably wait because this is just an awful stretch, and yet
they didn't listen.
They didn't listen to us at all.
They played him in the middle of the Jets game.
Right, exactly, and then it just went into that awful stretch, and this is part of that stretch. As they go, the end of this stretch, they're on the road at the Philadelphia Eagles. Then they have a bye, and then you feel better about their schedule with the Saints and Bengals up next. But on the road at Philadelphia, my expectation here on Diontae Johnson is I think they struggle. Pickett it's been a tough go here, and I'm with you. The passing volume is there, but even though Diontae Johnson is getting these targets, he's not doing anything with them. You know what I mean?
True.
I feel like Pickens is a bigger play, and in terms of Philadelphia, because they've gotten such good corner play from Slay and Bradbury, feels like this is a Chase Claypool, Pat Freiermuth game, right? And so, I have Diontae Johnson at wide receiver 25, mid-tier wide receiver 3. I would say close it out. I have no problem benching Diontae Johnson this week based on the production and the matchup here. I understand what Lawrence is saying. We're both sort of right there. Again, it sort of depends on what else you have. I'm at wide receiver 25.
Yeah, I'm 23.
So, but because we have this premise of keep it open or close it out, and I forgot to do it with Drake London where I'm closing it out just to be clear and clean that up, I will say close it out on Diontae Johnson. Lawrence thinks that you're saying keep it open.
For this week, yeah. But it's like it could be George Pickens, like you said, Freiermuth.
Yeah, he's got 1 game this year with more than 60 receiving yards, right? Anyway, he's the only wide receiver in the NFL with over 60 targets and 0 touchdowns.
That's
so he's due.
Right there.
He's due, but
in a garbage time game, you're assuming.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see.
Although the Eagles coming off, the Eagles are off the bye. Like, this is, their in-state rival. Like, I feel like the Eagles are out for blood this year. Like, they ain't okay, we're up 30, we're good, everyone bench. Like, they want to embarrass people.
Brandon Cooks coming off a season-low 5 targets, but on the flip side of that, guys, Nico Collins got hurt in that game. So you have to wonder, there's just not a lot of pass-catching targets in this offense, right? Even as good as Dameon Pierce has been in the backfield, he is a run-first, run-second kind of player. Do you think that Collins injury opens up the door for Cooks where you keep this one open?
Yeah, I was actually gonna close this tab right here, but now that Nico Collins is out, that could provide more opportunity, which is crazy to say when we talking about Brandon Cooks. He should have all the opportunity, but now it looks like the offense is funneling through Dameon Pierce, and you're looking at a game here with the Tennessee Titans where the over-under's 40.5, so kind of scary there.
Yeah.
But without Nico Collins, I might just leave it just a little open, just a little.
He's wide receiver 22 for me. I'm with Lawrence here. I'm going to keep it open as well. Titans, over the last 4 weeks, the 3rd worst pass defense in the NFL. They've allowed 70 receiving yards to a wide receiver in 5 straight games. 3 of those games, the guys went over 100 yards. So if you're telling me, hey, there's going to be a wide receiver that's going to go over 70 yards against the Titans, you feel like Brandon Cooks is the most likely person for that as well. Too much talent here. My expectation is that he has a decent game. I'm going to keep it open again. High-end wide receiver 3 for me this week.
Over in Arizona, Robbie Anderson in the fold, DeAndre Hopkins back. Rondale Moore coming off a week where he had 2 targets, 1 catch, 31 yards. Fellas, I got to ask, and Lawrence, I'll start with you. With 2 wide receivers in the fold now, does that hurt more where you're starting to think close this thing out?
So I would say, and we talked about this before the show about how Rondale Moore had to play more on the outside. If Robbie Anderson gets in this game and he's playing that outside receiver, we get Rondale Moore back to his natural slot position. He could thrive there. Obviously DeAndre Hopkins is going to lead in targets every game, but I don't see that to the tune of 14 targets per game. You're going against the Vikings here. You got a 49 over-under in this game, so we expect some points there. If Rondale Moore can get back to that slot, which he's used to, and Kyler Murray, quite frankly, dinking and dunking, that's all Rondale Moore sees right here. I'm keeping the tab open, baby.
I'm at wide receiver 40, so just, so I want to caveat it there. But I'm with Lawrence here in that if you would normally start Rondale Moore, like if you're in a deeper league where Rondale Moore is part of your consideration, then I would keep it open, right? And so I wouldn't change what I've been doing with Rondale Moore. Chances are you're not in a deep enough league where you've been thinking about it. But yeah, you make a great point there, right? so 17% of his slots, just 17% of Rondale Moore's routes were in the slot in week 7 because Robbie Anderson, A.J. Green is like basically
doesn't exist,
right? So it was the human Dortch, Greg Dortch, Hopkins, and Rondale Moore. Dortch can't play outside. So last week they had a very limited package of plays for Robbie Anderson. And so when Robbie Anderson wasn't out there, it was Rondale Moore and DeAndre Hopkins on the outside, Dortch in the slot. When they had those package of plays for Anderson, Rondale Moore moved to the slot. They've had 10 days now to prepare. They're coming off the mini bye, right, because they were the Thursday night game in week 6. And so the hope here is that Anderson has more of a package of plays, is more familiar with the playbook, and that they use Anderson and Hopkins on the outside more in the slot. It's worth noting that in the last 4 weeks, the Vikings are a bottom 6 pass defense. We expect a lot of scoring to be done in this game. 2 pretty good offenses, 2 defenses that have been inconsistent, to be kind, throughout the year. So I'm keeping it open on Rondale Moore, again, with a caveat, if you would normally start him. He's my wide receiver 40 for the week because even though we expect more snaps for Robbie Anderson, I'm not expecting a full complement. I'm not expecting him to play over 90% of the snaps. And to Lawrence's point, this passing offense is still going to funnel through DeAndre Hopkins.
Your Commanders play the Colts this week, and Antonio Gibson somewhat revived here, which is not the best of news if you were hoping Brian Robinson is going to be the workhorse. He has been that on the ground. Not really effective in the pass game. Lawrence, with him looking almost touchdown dependent at this point, where are you at with Brian Robinson?
So, again, I'll keep this open, but you got to temper the expectations here. You got to know that Antonio Gibson's going to be the more efficient back, but with him seeing 47% of the snaps in week 6 and 7, 17-plus touches in those games, and the Commanders are winning, they are determined to get Brian 50 Cent Robinson that ball. So for this game versus the Colts, who just given up 128 yards to King Henry, the week before that they gave up 140 to J-Rob and ETN. So this could be a nice little spot for him.
Yeah, they're 28th in pass defense over the last 4 weeks, right? I mean,
rush
defense. Rush defense. Like, you can run on the Colts. And so this game should be close. Weirdly, the Commanders are underdogs in this game. Apparently Vegas loves some Sam Ellinger. But what I would say here is that I agree with Lawrence here, keeping it open. I think he's a touchdown-dependent flex, but I think he gets an opportunity to get in there. I think one of the things that the Commanders saw in Antonio Gibson was like, okay, if we don't make him a workhorse running back, which, by the way, he never was in college. He was a wide receiver. He played a little bit of running back, but he's kind of a different player, but similar in some respects to kind of a Travis Etienne type, in the sense that they use him as a passing down back, and they used him more that way. And I think keeping him fresher actually made him more effective. He caught the touchdown pass, which is a really nice run there as well. He's had 4 targets. This is Antonio Gibson now. 4 targets each of the last 3 games, and so. I think the positive about Antonio Gibson is that whether the Commanders are way down or they're leading, Gibson's always going to have a role. Right. In a game in which we don't expect the Commanders to be blown out, whether they're either be leading or it's close, Robinson will be the early down pounder, and they like him. Again, he's gotten 17 or more touches in consecutive weeks as he comes back from that, from being shot. Which is just insane to think about. Right. So anyway, yes, I'm keeping it open on Brian Robinson. I think he gets into the end zone this week. I think he's a viable, flex play.
Over in Cleveland, Kareem Hunt's touches trending the wrong way, guys. And obviously his name has been in some rumors around the trade deadline. He's on an expiring contract. We know he's been vocal before about wanting a new deal before the season started. What do you make of his usage going that way, Lawrence? And is he somebody that you're starting to lean, hey, I can't have him in the lineup at this point with how the last 2 to 3 weeks have gone?
Yeah, this week I got to close that. And the way his touches are going and trending down, it's looking like he's about to be traded soon, because then they got the bye after the Bengals. But the Bengals are the 5th best team against running backs in fantasy. With the touches going down, I can't feel that confident going in there against the Bengals. Start Nick Chubb if you got him. I wouldn't even worry about it if you got Hunt for this week.
Yeah, I'm with Lawrence here. I'm closing it out on Kareem Hunt. He's had 10 total touches the last 2 games. 10. I mean, basically, averages out to single-digit touches. He's had single-digit fantasy points in 5 of the 7 games he's played so far this year. Single-digit fantasy points combined over the last 2 games here. And so when you think about, there's only 1 game this year in which Kareem Hunt has played more than 50% of the snaps, and all the trade rumors and everything like that. The only thing that I could see is that maybe they try to showcase him for a trade this week, but in a decent matchup here. But against the Bengals, as you mentioned, Lawrence, they can they don't have a great run defense. They're a bottom 12 run defense over the last month. But yeah, it's nothing. There's nothing in the stats or to the eye test that tells you, hey, you should start Kareem Hunt. It would just be basically, hey, this guy. We know this guy is taunted. We've seen it before. His name. Nothing in the production or the usage recently gives you any confidence in using him.
All right, fellas, time for the chaser, and who else but Tom Brady. The struggling Bucks play Baltimore on Thursday Night Football. This one's a little more simple. How nervous are you to start Tom Brady this week? On the short week, all the problems going on there with their offense, really everything combined. Where is that fear factor at?
I'm nervous as hell.
Yeah.
Even against this Ravens defense that gives up a lot of passing yards. They already said Russell Gage, he's out. Not that that's like if it was Chris Godwin, it'd be bigger. But yeah, seeing how they've played against the Panthers, the week before that, the Steelers. Man, I got him ranked at QB 12. Still got him at quarterback 1 just because he's Tom Brady, but I can't ride with it for this week, man. I got to see something. I got to see them get back on track.
I am a QB7. I'm keeping it open. It is Tom Brady. Again, this may be just, maybe I'm just clinging on to old memories, but he's still, again, we talk about volume all the time, right? He's still throwing it over 40 times a game. He still has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Leonard Fournette out of the backfield, and he's gotten some decent production out of Cade Otton. And no Russell Gage in this one, but hopefully Julio comes back as well. Ravens have been up and down this year in terms of their pass defense so far. They're traveling on a short week. This game is in Tampa Bay on Thursday night. I get it if anyone out there was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I get it. I get it. But I'm keeping it open for one more week.
I think the bottom line is the Bucs offensive line has got to get it together. It doesn't matter which wide receivers are hurt. That's going to be the most important thing to watch with Tampa Bay.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.